We have yet another plane crash, this time in Toronto, Canada. Although this happened in a foreign country, guess who the media wants to blame? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a Delta flight crashing in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Now, everybody's been accounted for. There's been no fatalities as of yet. I think the crash was upon landing, so maybe like right close to where it was going to land. Somehow the plane winds up upside down, literally upside down and on fire. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And again, everyone so far is accounted for. There are no deaths reported, so thank God for that. However, although that's a happy ending to such a story about a plane crash, the media, of course, take no time in trying to point their fingers at the orange man, at our president, Donald J. Trump. Why? Oh, you're firing FAA employees, all this, that, and the third. It's like, now, is the FAA operational in Canada? I'm just trying to understand. And also, is the FAA responsible for the plane being upside down? Does the FAA regulate whether a plane is right side up or upside down or not? Does the FAA regulate plane fires? I'm just trying to understand, just for myself, just for my sake, just for myself. I'm trying to understand. Now, before I go any further into that, let's get into the initial news clip. This is from ABC News. I will link to this clip and all others and the original story in the box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
We're coming on the air with reports of a plane crash involving a Delta flight from Minneapolis to Toronto. The plane went down while landing at Toronto Pearson Airport, flipping upside down. Images from the scene show the plane on its back with the landing gear pointing to the sky, smoke rising from the fuselage, and at least one wing also appears to be badly damaged or missing. Emergency crews on the scene do say that all the passengers and the crew have been accounted for. Now, police, of course, are investigating and reporting that there are multiple injuries. I want to get right to ABC.
Now, I was just reading about this story. I did read that at least one child was in critical condition. May they get well soon.
Sam Sweeney, who's monitoring this for us. Sam, what do we know so far?
Diane, this was a CRJ 900 aircraft. It was flying from Minneapolis to Toronto when it landed in this poor weather. We don't know why it flipped upside down, but you can see unbelievable image there, but very little fire. And we are now told that everybody on board that airplane made it off safely. We are getting reports of at least 8 people injured, one with critical injuries, but not life-threatening. The firefighters at the airport have cleared that aircraft, and we are now getting air traffic control audio of the pilot saying that everybody made it off that plane safely. But they are continuing to try to figure out what made this plane flip over in the first place.
Now, I'm no aviation expert. I'm not going to sit here and say I know what happened, but just being a casual observer, a regular person, just trying to use my brain to the maximum here, I would think that the inclement weather is what caused this. And there appears to be snow and potentially ice on the runway. So maybe that is what contributed to the plane rolling over like that.
Sam, any sense of how this happened or how the plane ended up in the condition that it's in?
Look, there was a lot of snow in the area. There was winds of more than 40 miles per hour, possible icy conditions on the runway. There have been hundreds of cancellations and delays in and out of Toronto Pearson Airport throughout the day because of these conditions. But it's unclear exactly what caused this situation right here. But when you look at these images, and just earlier, we saw some of these videos, cell phone videos coming into our newsroom of people running off the plane. They did not have their luggage. The plane flipped upside down, coming out of those emergency exits. And some of these passengers saying everybody is getting out of this safely. It's truly unbelievable.
All right. SABC's Sam Sweeney. Sam, thank you. So again, looks like everyone will be okay. Some injuries there after this Delta flight crash while landing in Toronto, coming from Minneapolis. We will, of course, will continue to monitor this story for you. We'll have a lot more.
So shout out to them over at ABC News. Again, I'll link to that video in the box, but there's more. Let's get to an article right quick. Now, this article did not come out today. This came out, well, it did come out today, actually, or it was updated today. But look, Trump begins firings of FAA air traffic control staff just weeks after fatal DC plane crash. So They want to link this to the accident in Toronto, Canada. And again, Canada is not governed by the FAA because it's a different country. They have their own thing over there. It's not the FAA at all. So how are we going to blame Trump and the FAA for this? And again, does the FAA regulate whether a plane is right side up or upside down or not? Does the FAA regulate plane fires? If not, then what are we talking about exactly? I don't understand. Let's continue here. All right. And this guy is not the Morgan Freeman, just some dweeb who capitalizes off the fact that his name is also Morgan Freeman. But you see what it says right here. Thanks, Trump, for freezing FAA flight control hires. You are deleting people. Or are you blaming DEI, Biden, and Obama, under which we had nearly no major airline crashes? See, that's the narrative they want to go with. And it's not just this random goober on the internets. You also have your regular mainstream media. This is going to be NBC. Check it out.
I did want to, underscore, to pick up on the conversation you were just having, though, in terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom. This is going to yet again raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border.
Okay. So you acknowledge what I said. You acknowledge the obvious. You acknowledge the truth. So why did you bring up Trump and the FAA? What's that got to do with it? What does this have to do with that? Let's see if he's able to explain.
And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions, especially air traffic control. I was having a conversation with somebody today about whether air traffic control in America is being affected by the staff cuts. So far, not to their knowledge. And yet, other positions related to maintaining critical equipment appear to have been cut. So this is going to feed into all of these recent incidents. And
so now they're saying, all right, the FAA may have already had some cuts, but the cuts are not even going toward air traffic control because the FAA, that's the Federal Aviation Administration. Y'all know what it is, but it's aviation, not just air traffic control. The air traffic control is just a piece of the FAA. And they said so far there's been no cuts there. So the narrative about the cuts happening at air traffic control is not even the real thing.
the safety of the total air traffic system is going to be very much a part of the conversation as we go forward, at least on this side of the country, of the border, I should say.
All right, so there we go. Again, that was NBC with the stretch, the reach of a lifetime. Hey, we know this accident did not happen in the USA, and we know that this particular country where it happened, Canada, does not have anything to do with the FAA, but we're going to mention Trump making cuts at the FAA, and we're not going to really lead with the most important thing is that any reported cuts thus far have not impacted air traffic control. They have impacted other departments of the FAA that do not relate to air traffic control. See, this is why the media sucks. This is why people don't trust them anymore, because as I close, let me just close with this. The media will tell you things that are true, but they'll tell you things in a way that will mislead you. Just because there's FAA cuts does not mean there will also be air traffic control cuts. Okay? And also, this plane crash happened in Canada where there is not the US's FAA. It's Canada's version of the FAA, not the United States. So even if the cuts did impact the USA when it comes to air traffic control, that's not relevant in this case because the crash did not happen under our jurisdiction. That's what I'm talking about right there. They'll tell you things that are true, but they'll tell it to you in the misleading ways where you really don't get the full context. You don't really get told what the actual story is. You get led to believe what they want you to believe rather than the actual truth. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about this plane crash in Toronto, Ontario, Canada? Again, everybody made it out, all accounted for, no deaths as of yet. I think one critically injured child. But what are your thoughts about this crash? Why do you think it happened? Is it because of the obvious inclement weather, the clear snow and probably ice and high winds? It's Toronto, it's Canada, it's February, it's wintertime. I mean, these kind of things can happen. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. How you feel about the media and their lies, their constant lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation, the misleading? Personally, I hate them. I hate them a lot, and that's why I hang my hat on being authentic, by bringing you the real truth, by telling you guys all the time, don't believe me, definitely don't believe them, do your own research. Because if you just watch them, you may believe something that's totally different other than the truth. You may not really understand quite what's going on if you just believe them and whatever they say. So this is yet another example of what I'm talking about. Yet another example. They keep putting out stuff that's misleading at best, lies at worst. And then when we say we don't trust you anymore, they're like, why is that? See what I'm saying? That is a problem. So I'm going to be here to always give the reality of what's going on. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.